Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Mad Meta Magic, where we try to make the magic meta mad. Now, today I have a deck that goes pretty deep, and is not necessarily, we'll say, competitive constructed tier. I would take this to an FNM, absolutely, but it is effectively mono-red Storm. Now, a couple of things about this deck. The major problem that exists, I know going into this, is there's not enough Wheel of Fortune effects in Modern. There's only two. There's Reforge the Soul, which is fine. This card's perfect. It fits in this deck easily. And then there's Wheel of Fate, which is the 0-mana Suspend version. And that version does not fit in this deck because it is too inconsistent having to cast it with things like Electro Dominance and whatnot. Even though it is cheaper and easier to cast than Reforge the Soul is, unfortunately, it does not fit in this deck. And the blue ones, like Time Reversal and Echo of Eons, shuffling your grave back in doesn't work, because our primary method of cost reduction in this Storm deck is Locket of Yesterdays, which is a very cheap cost reducer with the low cost of playing the spell first, having a copy in your grave. New addition since I last built this deck is Cleansing Wildfire. This is an excellent way to ramp into the combo because we have some indestructible lands, so we can use this like a cantripping Rampant Growth. So it's a way to gain card advantage in mono red, which is pretty nice. We also have Valakut Awakening, which can just serve as extra lands if we don't, if we have the opportunity to play them. Otherwise, it can wheel our entire hand away of spells we don't need and then draw us an additional card. It's pretty nice. Our primary way of gaining mana is Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, but also Inner Fire, which is a card that is very strong if you cast it alongside a Draw 7 effect. We have Past in Flames. In order to buy back all the stuff we cast, we win with Grape Shot normally. We do have an Empty the Warrens in the main, so it's not our only way to storm off. We have Pirate's Pillage. Now, this card might look a little odd in this deck, but it can be a ritual if it is cast off of the primary way that we win the game, which is Hazaret's Undying Fury. Hazaret's Undying Fury is basically the card Unexpected Results 4 times, and you can cast any spells that are CMC 5 or less from among them. Oh, you know what? I need fetch lands in this deck, because I want to reduce the number of lands as much as possible. Which I think means I need to go down 1 Stomping Ground. Sorry, I just realized this morning after testing with this all day yesterday. Because this is a deck that is fun for me to play. It's pretty memey. Out of the sideboard, we have some Lightning Bolts to interact early. We have Blood Moons because we're basically mono-red. We have another Empty the Warrens, Shatter Storm. We have a couple of green spells we can use, because we can fetch up Stomping Grounds. We have Manamorphose to filter into green if we need to. Pirate's Pillage. The treasure tokens can make green mana, so it's not that uncastable. And then we have a Tormod Script. Alright, let's go ahead and take Storm Locket into a Modern League and see what happens. I don't expect we'll recoup our entry, but it should be fun, if not quick. Alright, round 1, here we go. I have won a few games with this deck. It's actually pretty sweet when it happens. I would love to play first. This is pretty close to an ideal hand. We just need a land. I think we risk it. We do play like 20 lands, so I'll start Wooded Foothills. Do I want to just fetch up for Locket of Yesterdays? I think I do. There are a couple of red rituals that could slot into this deck that I'm not playing. Before, when I was instead of using Locket of Yesterdays, I centered on sorceries and was playing Cloud Key as my cost reducer of choice. Oh shoot, I meant to shock that for Locket. Oh well. The problem is Cloud Key is bugged on Moto, and it keeps, every time they fix it, it gets bugged again. And the bug is, if you play it, you lose, because you can't escape the choose what your cost reducing prompt. Alright. My opponent plays a Breeding Pool into a Gilded Goose. We untap and draw Inner Fire. Well, play Locket. Pass the turn. So my opponent untaps, shocks the Steam Vents, plays a Renin 6, picks up their fetch land, and plays an Aether Spellbomb. Okay, we untap. Perfect. Draw Cascading Cataracts, so Cleansing Wildfire ourselves. This means our other Cleansing Wildfire now only costs 1 red. Opponent is debating about forcing this, apparently, which is not a bad idea because we did miss a land drop, and this kind of undoes that. We draw another Inner Fire. Pass the turn. Force of Negation is one reason why Locket of Yesterdays is a little bit worse than it used to be. Considering that Force of Negation acts as a dissipate and exiles the spell. So our opponent cracks for a snow-covered island, picks up their land, plays another goose, makes a food, and then plays a Sword of the Meek. I honestly have no idea what our opponent is playing. It's probably some variation of the giant Uropile deck, but kind of lost track of what that deck is and does anymore. So we're going to Cleansing Wildfire our Cascading Cataracts again. We'll cantrip, get a mountain. Doing this for 1 mana feels great, by the way. So I can Manamorphose for 2 mana, then I can Manamorphose and go up to 3 mana, but I can't Interfire. Losing Faithless Looting also made this deck a lot worse than it was. I could just play Valakut Stoneforge and wait. Problem is we play so many rituals that aren't Interfire, and if I hit a single one of them, it's great. I think I'm gonna go for it. So Manamorphose into red. We get Finale of Promise. Alright. We'll play out the land, and we're just gonna pass. So we do play a Singleton Finale of Promise. This card is extremely good when you cast like an Interfire and an instant like Manamorphose or Valakut Awakening out of the grave. I don't actually think you can play Valakut Awakening out of the grave now that I think about it. So opponent plays Emery. This looks like a deck that's abusing Emery Loop. I didn't see what they took out of the grave. They got Misty. Okay, now they're passing. So we untap, we draw another Interfire, okay. So, I mean, we kind of got to start Interfire. Okay, opponent has Cryptic. That's fine. Means all of our other Interfires now cost 3 instead of 4. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Mox Amber. They play Misty. So right now I suspect my opponent is like on the Mystic Sanctuary for a Cryptic plan. They can either do it, they can either put Cryptic on top now and draw it on our upkeep, or they could crack like Aether Spellbomb for it. They just get a Forest, okay. They pick up Misty. They play another Goose. They get a food. Renin 6 is at 7. And they pass. We untap, they draw a card. We draw Cleansing Wildfire. So Interfire currently costs only 3. So cast Interfire. This deck is really good when it draws multiple redundant rituals. Metallic Rebuke. Well, cast Manamorphose in response, because then we can actually pay for Metallic Rebuke. Okay, there's an untapped land we can play. Alternatively, we could let Interfire get countered and just cast another one for 2. But I think it's better to pay here. They're drawing a card with Aether Spellbomb, so it didn't seem like they had a counter in hand. Okay. Resolves. So then let's Interfire again for 2 mana this time. Okay, Cleansing Wildfire, 1 mana cantrip. We draw Reforge the Soul. So we can Finale of Promise, cast Manamorphose, and then an Interfire. Doesn't seem too bad. We have to pay 6 mana to do this, and we get 6 mana back and cantrip. You just have to make sure that we stack these properly. So we cast Inner Fire first, and then we cast Manamorphose, so that we have an extra card in hand when Inner Fire resolves. Oh, we actually get 7 mana back. Okay. So now, play Cascading Cataracts. Grape Shot my opponent. Kind of sucks that we drew all 3 Reforges. Opponent is going to gain life in response. That's fine. Because we're not done storming yet. The problem is we could give our opponent... I'll do 1 damage to Ren and 6 just so it doesn't ult. If we fizzle for some reason. Okay, cast Reforge. We draw some stuff. No Desperate Rituals in the grave, which is kind of bad. So we can cast... If I cast Desperate Ritual, does it actually do anything? Reforge the Soul costs 2 right now, which is kind of sweet. So we Desperate Ritual. We can play Locket. Then we can Reforge the Soul for 2. Now we should be able to just win. So Manamorphose, draw a card, add red. Terrible at playing Storm decks. Are there any Pyretics in the grave right now? There are not. How much does this cost? Oh, 2 mana. Perfect. Cast Locket, cast Pyretic Ritual, cast Pirate's Pillage, discarding land. Yeah, we've won. Okay. So then we can Valakut Awakening, dump our lands, any order. Okay. Then we can Inner Fire for 1, Desperate Ritual, Hazaret's Undying Fury again. There it is. We'll cast Past in Flames. Opponent scoops. Alright, we won a game. I think this is the time to bring in Blood Moon. Blood Moon, Shatterstorm. Now the question is, what do we take out for this sideboard package without, like, completely gimping the combo? I think we can take out one... Well, take out 1 Undying Fury. Take out a Finale of Promise, even though it was really good in that combo. It's another way we can actually buy back Grape Shot, so I probably should be running it. This is always the problem. I never know what I can take out in a deck like this. Like, I did design a sideboard, but this sideboard is actually from a previous version of the deck. One that was running Channel the Suns as an additional Inner Fire, to let you know how bad that is. It's kind of cool when it, like, acts like a Seething Song, but frequently it actually makes your mana, like, unusable. I guess if I'm bringing in Blood Moon, I can probably go down on the Cleansing Wildfire plan. Problem is, I want to cut, like, singletons, and I need the singletons to combo because of Locket. I think I'm just going to bring in Blood Moon, and I'm going to take out a couple Pirate's Pillage, 1 Cleansing Wildfire, and a Darksteel Citadel. We're going to have to get a little lucky, I think. Well, I mean, we play a Locket really quickly, but I don't think we can keep that hand. This hand might actually work. Multiple Cleansing Wildfires for ramp. Yeah, we'll keep. We're going to put back Reforge the Soul. Problem is I have to start tapped red land. This card is so good in this deck. It makes this deck so much more consistent. Because, like, being able to play it as a tap land matters so often. And before anyone asks, no, you can't play Simian Spirit Guide in this version, because Hazaret's Undying Fury hitting Simian Spirit Guide instead of anything else feels super bad, especially when it doesn't produce mana. Alright, we'll play Valakut Stoneforge. I'd love to get down Locket under counterspells, but I don't think I can right now. Opponent started Zagoth, Triome, Mishra's Bauble to draw a card. Before anyone asks, I was actually inspired to build this off of the Ruby Medallion Storm list that people were playing in Legacy, with like bonus round and stuff. I think it was really cool. Alright, so we're going to play Cascading Cataracts. Cleansing Wildfire ourselves. We will use its ability. Get a mountain. We draw Inner Fire. Okay, pass the turn. Next turn we can try and run out Locket and then still play Cleansing Wildfire for 1 mana. I suspect my opponent is just going to hold up Nile Spellbomb for the majority of this game, which means we need a really strong Storm hand when we go for it. I could go a little deeper on green and have access to things like Veil of Summer, but... Okay, opponent mills Bauble, Goose, Island, and Cryptic. We untap, draw another Cataracts, play Cataracts, play Locket, cast Cleansing Wildfire. We will use its ability. Get another Mountain. Okay. The more we're allowed to ramp, the better chance we have of actually winning. I don't know what we could do to force our opponent to crack Nile Spellbomb, especially if they're playing as disciplined as they are. Okay, opponent plays Urza, Lord High Artificer. I'm going to replay Bauble, so they could have like Metallic Rebuke here. I guess we'd have to watch out for that. So we untap, we draw Manamorphose, play a Mountain, and I think the plan now is we're going to use Pirate's Pillage as a way to ramp, pitching Finale of Promise, because our opponent could just exile the grave at any time, we can't rely on it. And this way, if my opponent does have a Metallic Rebuke, I can Desperate Ritual to pay for it. Yep. Okay. We'll pay for it. We draw Pirate's Pillage and Hazoret's Undying Fury. Okay. We're getting up to a lot of mana. We have no way to protect Fury, though. That's the problem. Alright, opponent plays Goblin Engineer. So they get to tutor up something to put in the grave. I think my best top deck here is probably a fetch land. Okay, they get Thopter Foundry. Thopter Foundry, Sword of the Meek, Urza is a infinite combo. So I think next turn we actually have to storm off and win. My opponent only has one card left. If it's another counter spell, we're probably done for. So Pirate's Pillage effectively costs 1 mana starting next turn. Opponent hits us for 4. Inner Fire costs 0, but nets 0. Okay, we draw Pyretic Ritual. If I cast Pirate's Pillage, I think I discard Inner Fire, but we'll start with Manamorphose, just to see if we draw something that we would rather pitch. Ooh. Another Manamorphose. Free Storm. Reforge the Soul. Okay, I'm gonna keep that, which means I'm going to Pirate's Pillage for 3, discarding Inner Fire. The real concern is if my opponent doesn't crack Spellbomb prior to... My opponent's gonna Aether Gust this. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, so I can cast Undying Fury. Alright, we're just gonna put that on the bottom. It's gonna get shuffled in anyway. So, Pyretic Ritual. Opponent is going to exile the grave in response. Okay, that's fine. The problem is if we wheel, my opponent could have like Force of Negation. Ooh, Blood Moon. So cast Blood Moon, then cast Reforge the Soul. We need to draw Pyretic Ritual. That's our only 1 mana way to produce mana right now. There it is. Oh, we have a Cascading Cataracts. So we can play that. We have 1, 2, and this is a Dark Ritual, so we can go up to 4. Meaning we can pitch a Blood Moon to Pirate's Pillage. And get 2 mana back. We get another Locket. Well, my opponent has 7 cards in hand, so they're going to have the infinite combo. I mean, let's just... They don't need any particular color of mana to Sword of the Meek. So I guess we'll just Cleansing Wildfire ourselves. Oh, there's no more of these in the grave, I see. Does that change what we're doing here? I think I would rather play Locket. Alright, so my opponent should have the combo. We did just draw them 7 cards and then fizzle, unfortunately. We needed slightly more mana than we had. And if our opponent had not Nile Spellbombed us, we would have had it, I think. Okay, opponent plays another Emery, digging for Sword of the Meek, which has not shown up in the grave yet. It means there's some hope. Another Nile Spellbomb. Okay. Exiling our grave. They don't have black mana to pay, so they can't draw. But that does limit our cost reduction capability quite a bit. Engineered Explosives on 1. Okay. Oh, you know what? Our lands don't untap next turn. I should not have played out that Locket. Okay. Opponent blows up our Lockets. Plays a Goose. Plays a Mishra's Bauble. Cracks Bauble. So, for us to really have a chance, we need to Miracle Reforge the Soul, I think. Actually, we can't, because, like I said, my lands don't untap. So opponent hits us for 6, we go to 10. We untap, they draw 2 cards. Play Valakut Stoneforge. Oh, wait. We could at least cantrip with Cleansing Wildfire, but we lose out on a mana if we do that. That might actually still be worth it. Just to thin our deck and make sure we don't draw as many lands. Forgot Valakut Stoneforge comes in untapped when you're playing. Alright, seems like a waste of an Aether Gust, but okay. I mean, like, couldn't my opponent have just, like, sacked Amber and... Oh, they can't sack the food. It feels like they could have just made enough Thopters to attack and kill us, but, I mean, what do I know, right? Another Mox Amber. Opponent replays Bauble. I hope I muted that sneeze in time. That would be a problem if I did not, because I'm right next to my microphone. Opponent plays another Urza. Makes another Construct. They're 1 damage away from just killing us. I was going to say, I kind of find it hard to believe they can't. And they just need to play an artifact for that. Yeah, okay. Then we're dead. Because this construct counts for this one, which makes 10. Okay. So we'll go ahead and concede. Alright, I think they play enough basics that the Blood Moon plan's not really where I want to be. I think I would rather run an additional Empty the Warrens. I still think keeping this Darksteel Citadel out of the deck is fine. It's possible that 19 lands is what we want to be playing. Yeah, I think I just want another Storm card in the deck. And maybe I should just be maxing out on Grape Shots, because, like, just, you know, Desperate Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Grape Shot, Grape Shot, Grape Shot. Probably kills your opponent most of the time. We could play, like, Defense Grids as our counter of choice, because we are a Sorcery Speed Storm deck, and we don't play counter spells. Or we could even, like, Manamorphose into Grand Abolisher or something. That'd be pretty funny. There's a lot of ways to take this deck, in terms of, like, new directions. I probably should be playing this Nature's Claim. I'm gonna run 61 and play this Nature's Claim. Because I've got a feeling that my opponent has, like, Damping Sphere or something stupid. And this deck would, like, auto-lose to a Damping Sphere. There's just no way for it to win. Unless we could somehow storm up to, like, a near-lethal Empty the Warrens. I wonder, in the current modern metagame, if playing Ignite Memories as a actual Storm win condition would be worth it, because it is 5 mana, but the theory is you hit something in their hand that costs more than 0. So, like, if you hit a 3-drop in their hand, that's 1/3 the Storm count you need to win with something like Grape Shot. And in a format where people are playing, like, Cryptic Lock, actually it's really bad right now, because Uro Omnath plays, like, 30 lands, which means half the time Ignite Memories is going to do 0 damage. Literally, that's what that means. So I guess Ignite Memories is not the way you want to go. I'm looking forward to Weather the Storming versus Burn, and just going up to, like, 900 life and being like, alright, I'll see you when I'm ready to storm off again. One of the other cards that I'm thinking about playing, in the, like, 2-mana slot, there is a enchantment, I think, from Shadows over Innistrad, that's a Vessel of something, and it's 2 red mana, and it costs 2 red mana to crack, and then it gives you 4 red mana, but with Locket, that's a ritual. But it also lets you store up mana, like Pentad Prism style. This hand is slow, not a lot of rituals, no cost reduction, but we do have lands. I don't want to mulligan too low, because it's going to be difficult to storm off otherwise. I think I'm going to try and get a hand with some ramp or something in it. Okay, well, I mean, we can play out some lands, we'll have access to Nature's Claim, and then we can Valakut Awakening to wheel away whatever we don't need. Okay, I'm going to put back Valakut Awakening, and we're going to start like this. Shatterstorm would be fun, I just don't think it would resolve against my opponent's deck. Against any hand that actually mattered, I should say. So my opponent starts Mox Amber into a Goose. Alright, we untap. We draw Cascading Cataracts. So, play Cataracts, pass the turn. If my opponent casts an Emery, I would nuke Mox Amber this turn, I think. Goblin Engineer. Okay. What are they putting in the grave? Thopter Foundry. That's actually kind of scary. Can I do anything to take them off of Thopter Foundry next turn? Sack an artifact, reanimate an artifact, CMC 3 or less. For red mana. This requires Metalcraft. Only if you control an artifact. Oh, okay, so they could do it next turn regardless. I can't take them off both artifacts, so I could try and hit Thopter Foundry next turn. We untap and draw Wooded Foothills. So play Wooded Foothills. Sack Wooded Foothills. We'll get a mountain. Pass the turn. We're probably going to try to just Valakut Awakening. Probably this entire hand away. But it really depends on what our opponent does here. If it's nothing, we're definitely going to try the Valakut Awakening plan. The problem is it's almost certainly going to get countered. But we got to start somewhere. They're going to counter it, and they're going to bounce Stomping Ground. Okay. We untap, draw Desperate Ritual. Play Stomping Ground untapped. I could Desperate Ritual into Empty the Warrens, but that would be the most minimal Empty the Warrens I've ever cast. So we're just going to pass. Opponent cracks Bauble, looking at our top deck. They untap, they draw. They play Misty. Why is this not unless you control 3 artifacts? Why is this only 1 artifact? This card is really good. Has a very minimal price for great mana. Sword of the Meek. Sure. Okay. Opponent passes. So I'd like to draw, I think, Reforge the Soul. If we could get that on a miracle, that'd be great. We get a Cleansing Wildfire. Play a Mountain. Wildfire the Cataracts. I don't think hitting my opponent's mana is correct. Opponent rebukes. They have like nothing going on, but they can get the Thopter Foundry engine going next turn. I think I still am going to Desperate Ritual to pay for this. Because we need the ramp, and we don't mind having a single copy of most of our rituals in the grave. That is how we reduce our costs. Problem is we keep drawing lands, despite thinning our deck. So my opponent is going to reanimate Thopter Foundry. I guess if they untap and play Urza, we're dead, but they only have 1 card in hand. Because just no matter how much Storm we have, if they play Urza, then they have infinite Thopters, because they can tap the Thopter to make mana, then use the mana to sack Sword, and then make another Thopter, which reanimates Sword, which gives them another mana, and so on and so forth. Doesn't look like they have the infinite combo right now. They reanimate Bauble, drawing an additional card. Oh, that's fun. Oh, okay, they put Engineered Explosives on 0, so they have something else to sack. Problem is we don't have an answer to Engineer, so this Nature's Claim is actually worthless right now. So we untap. Bauble draws them a card. We draw Inner Fire. Play Wooded Foothills. Pass the turn. And it's better to play out lands right now because each land produces 1 mana, which is the same as if we just held it in hand. I guess I can technically make my opponent use more mana if I destroy this now. It doesn't really do all that much, but... because they just get it back next turn. And they could have Damping Sphere, but if they draw that at this point, we're already like an Urza from dead. So I think disrupting their primary game plan is slightly more important than holding that up for a potential Damping Sphere. Because if they had Damping Sphere, I think they would have just Goblin Engineered for it. And I don't even think they need to play it, because their primary plan of Urza, Thopters, gain infinite life kind of beats Storm. Just naturally. Okay. So opponent plays Emery. They mill some cards. There is a Damping Sphere. And I'm about to eat my own words. Because they just reanimate Damping Sphere, why wouldn't you? Okay. Opponent hits us for 4. And they can get it at instant speed as long as they have Goblin Engineer. I think that means we're dead. Yep. Alright, so consider that a punt, because I could have actually answered that, and if we top deck like a Reforge the Soul, we could actually combo. If we don't if we don't top deck something here, then we would have lost anyway, but let's just see what happens. Unfortunately, there's no red Burning Wish or anything in Modern. I guess fortunately, because there's a lot of broken decks that would exist if that was a thing, but... So for those of you who don't know... Oh my gosh, and we would have had it too. If I had just done the Nature's Claim thing. Oh my god. Well, play Reforge the Soul. So for those of you that don't know what it does... Damping Sphere says for every spell you cast in a turn, your spells cost 1 more. So Reforge the Soul costs 2. If I try to cast Pyretic, it'll cost 3. And then if I try and cast Pyretic again, it'll cost 4. And so on and so forth. Let's see, we do have an empty. Oh, we can Finale of Promise for Nature's Claim, actually. So if I hit Nature's Claim and Desperate Ritual, I have to pay 5 mana and I get 3 back. I don't think it's worth waiting a turn, because then Goblin Engineer is going to be untapped. I just have to try and combo with what I got, I think. Hang on. I have to use Finale of Promise to hit Nature's Claim. And then I guess I could hit Inner Fire. I'd have to pay 7 mana, I only have 5. So I just have to hit Nature's Claim. So I have to use 4 mana, and then I can't do anything. Okay. Which means I have to wait. I can Manamorphose this turn. I'm kind of wasting Storm Count, but I need to hit, like, a Locket. Actually, it doesn't even work. Okay, well, we have Pirate's Pillage for next turn. So next turn, we can start off by paying 3 mana to hit Nature's Claim, and we could hit a Cleansing Wildfire if we wanted to alongside that. Unfortunately, there's no 2-mana ritual that's also a sorcery. Well, there is. It's called Mana Seism, but it's terrible, because it only gives you colorless mana, and it requires you sack lands to get that amount of mana. So it's potentially powerful, but only once. So if my opponent plays a Nile Spellbomb, it's game over. And now that we've drawn them 7 cards, they can actually... I guess I had to Nature's Claim then and just try and combo. I, for some reason, forgot that Reforge the Soul drew my opponent 7 cards as well. And they don't tap out ever because they have artifacts now. So, that was technically a mistake. Oh. Yep. Yep. Alright, I'm just going to concede. This is an embarrassment. Unfortunately, we did not draw what we needed to combo off. But I probably could have done something. So, let's see. If I had ritualed up to Pirate's Pillage, would have drawn another Pillage and Undying Fury. Then I would have had, like, no mana left at all. Or no, I couldn't have, because I couldn't even... whatever. Alright, we'll play first. I do like this hand. We're going to keep. We'll start off Locket. If we can top deck a indestructible land, that'd be perfect. Okay, pass the turn. Is there any reason to play this over regular Izzet Storm? Yeah, you don't want to play Izzet Storm. That's the reason. Alright. We draw Wooded Foothills. So, play Stomping Ground, untapped. Cleansing Wildfire, ourself. And the reason that I'm hitting myself and not my opponent is I do still technically want to thin my deck. Which means maybe I should have Wooded Foothills first, but... So, if this deck still had Faithless Looting, I would probably play Pyretic Ritual, or not Pyretic Ritual, Pyromancer's Ascension. But because we don't have access to Faithless Looting in Modern anymore, I think Pyromancer's Ascension is really, really ambitious. We're against Heliod Company, which means Ranger Captain of Eos basically just screws us. Because for the low price of sacrificing it, they say you can't do anything for a turn. So, like, in response to, like, 3 rituals, they can just go, yeah, no more spells. And then we're kind of dead in the water. Or in response to, like, a Hazaret's Undying Fury or something. And we're not playing any Lightning Bolts in the main, because we can't fit them in the main deck. So, play a Wooded Foothills. Alright, pass the turn. We can fetch up another Stomping Ground. So my opponent has a Walking Ballista. They play a land. They play Conclave Mentor. They untap a land. So they can play Ballista, and next turn they can just play Heliod. Oh, okay. Second Mentor. Well, they're very close to just combo killing us. And if I was to Miracle or Forge the Soul, I wouldn't really do anything because they could just sack Ranger Captain in response. We untap, draw Manamorphose. I guess I have to try and bait the Ranger Captain. So if my opponent is kind of like jumpy with it. Get a Finale of Promise. Play Wooded Foothills. Crack Wooded Foothills. Awesome. That worked. Opponent got worried about it. I mean, we might still just be dead, right? But hey, at least they don't have a Ranger Captain. Unless they have another one in hand, in which case I'm going to be really sad. Because I tried very hard to get my opponent to do that. 3 mana, opponent plays Spike Feeder. Attacks us for 4. We untap. Draw Manamorphose. Alright, there's a chance. Manamorphose currently costing 1 mana is sweet. Go lock it. Let's see what we draw. Okay. Problem is, Valakut Awakening, I have to get rid of cards in hand to do that. If I enter Fire, that adds 5, so it is a ritual. Then Enter Fire costs 1 less, which makes it still a ritual, because now it adds 4 and only costs 3. Pyretic. Pyretic. Okay, now we can Finale of Promise, hitting Manamorphose and Cleansing Wildfire to draw as many cards as possible. Okay, so we're going to Cleansing Wildfire our own mountain. Oh, actually, hang on. We're going to cast Manamorphose on the stack first, then we're going to Cleansing Wildfire our own mountain to try to minimize the number of mountains we can draw. We draw another Cleansing Wildfire, which is actually not great, because now we have no more Cleansing Wildfires in the grave. Get a Desperate Ritual. We can cast Desperate Ritual. I don't think we want to. I think I'd rather just Valakut Awakening this hand away and try and draw 3 new cards, hopefully one of which is something that will do something. Any order. Empty the Warrens counts. Let's play Wooded Foothills. Cast Desperate Ritual. This is not the ideal, but it's what we got. Okay. Maybe I should have kept the inner fires in hand and tried to wheel them away to get deeper. I'm not actually sure. So, like, the other problem with this deck is I don't know what the optimal lines are because I haven't played it that much. I did, like, 5 or 6 test matches yesterday, and it seemed okay, but, like, I just haven't optimized it yet. And, like, we did storm off. The problem is my opponent could just gain infinite life, and then what are we going to do? This is a deck that infinite life will beat. And I'm just gonna... I'm gonna crack Wooded Foothills for a Stomping Ground and then F6. Or, I mean, a basic mountain, because we have no Stomping Grounds left. Alright. F6. We got 24 goblins, that's something. So if my opponent Eladamri's calls for... Oh, okay, they were putting a counter on Spike Feeder. And they can do that because they can target Spike Feeder with its own ability, and they have things that add to the number of 1/1 counters. Okay. So for 4 mana, opponent is playing... Are they just playing a big Ballista? They are. So they pass. They could block a token, kill 4 tokens, and mitigate 5 damage. They could also just gain a bunch of life, so we can't actually attack and win. Because if I don't leave back sufficient blockers... But this sucks. I stormed off and I don't even win. Yep, okay. So we're gonna concede. Versus our opponent's deck, kind of have to go all in on the Grape Shot plan, because Empty the Warrens is not going to do it. I will play a Nature's Claim, I think. Maybe not. Let's add just the Lightning Bolts. We'll drop another Darksteel. We'll drop the Darksteel Citadel again, and I need to cut 1 card, and it's probably Pirate's Pillage. All right, we get to be on the play. And that's not a keepable hand. This technically is, though I don't like it. We have to play Valakut Awakening. We want to keep Locket. I think I put back Inner Fire here. So we start Valakut Stoneforge. Next turn we can play Locket and have Lightning Bolt. I would Lightning Bolt a Dork. I think that's the best thing we could do to slow them down. Okay, they don't play a Dork, because they play a Utopia Sprawl. So we untap, we draw Inner Fire, play Cataracts, play Locket, pass the turn. Problem is, and I understand why they do this for design reasons, because red's the impulsive color. Not enough red cards replace themselves, which is one reason why Manamorphose and Cleansing Wildfire are so strong in this deck. Okay, opponent's Skyclave Apparitions are Locket. That is unfortunate. I don't think I'm going to bolt the Skyclave Apparition. It is a clock, but it's not part of their infinite combo. It's not like it's a Spike Feeder they can just gain a bunch of life with or anything like that. Alright, we draw Cleansing Wildfire. This does mean I lose the opportunity of playing Bolt this turn, but I think that's okay. Cleansing Wildfire, we want to hit a land. We want to hit Cascading Cataracts, hit a mountain, and then draw a land, like a Wooded Foothills here. Okay, we draw Hazoret's Undying Fury. So, pass the turn. Okay. Well, we're a land away from casting Reforge the Soul. 3 mana, opponent plays Ranger Captain. Well, at least now we have Bolt. They get an Arbor Elf. So they're lacking on mana. They hit us for 2. We go down to 18. We untap. We draw Manamorphose. I'm going to cast Manamorphose right now, because I want to try and hit a land. Okay. Pyretic Ritual is kind of a land. So pass the turn. And if by our opponent's end step they only have one Ranger Captain, we're going to Lightning Bolt the Ranger Captain. And now we're a land away from playing Hazoret's Undying Fury. Okay, opponent plays Arbor Elf. They're going to crack Horizon Canopy. Nope, they have a 2-drop to play, and it's Scoos. Okay. So now that my opponent is out of mana, I'm going to go ahead and Bolt Ranger Captain, just so we don't take the damage. And I have to do this. I don't really have a choice. Okay. Otherwise, I would much prefer having the extra card in hand to make Inner Fire a real spell. The only other, like, ritual in Modern that could actually be played in this deck, besides Channel the Suns, which I would absolutely play over this card, is Mana Geyser. Just 5 mana, add mana equal to the number of tap lands your opponent controls. So let's see, I can play a Mountain, I can Inner Fire to get 4 mana, then I can Ritual Hazoret's Undying Fury. I think that's my best bet. So Inner Fire here just serving as, like, Storm Count. This could even be a gut shot right now, and it would be actually more effective, because I could at least take out Arbor Elf. But we want an Inner Fire in the grave, because it reduces the cost of future Inner Fires. So, Pyretic Ritual up to 5. Desperate Ritual up to 6. Hazoret's Undying Fury. Now our lands don't untap next turn. And we only hit 2 cards. That is atrociously bad. So cast Locket. Cast Valakut Awakening. I'm going to put Reforge the Soul back in the deck. Okay, we draw another Hazoret's Undying Fury, which means if our opponent doesn't eat it in 2 turns, if we're not dead, we can actually cast it again and try again. That is the problem with Hazoret's Undying Fury, is it can't hit itself. It's not like Mind's Desire in that regard, and it can't hit lands, which is one reason why playing too many lands sucks. But Valakut Awakening is actually great. I wonder if there's any other red flip lands. Never mind, we're dead. We can't beat an Eidolon of Rhetoric. Alright. Well, we're 0-2. I'll see you guys in round 3. Which is now. Alright, we'll play first. I'd like to mulligan. Okay, we can keep this, even though it's not great. Put back Reforge the Soul. And we'll start by playing Valakut Stoneforge. Pass the turn. This is the only way we guarantee we have 2 mana on turn 2, and this could be important if I needed to Cleansing Wildfire my opponent's land, as if they were on Tron. We draw an Indestructible land, which I think was our best possible top deck. So, Cleansing Wildfire ourself. Put a Crack's Verdant Catacombs. Gets a Blood Crypt tapped. Cleansing Wildfire, get a Mountain. Okay, we draw a fetch land. This is the problem with Inner Fire being the next best ritual to play besides Desperate and Pyretic, is that it just doesn't do anything the majority of the time. I could play green sorceries and maybe ramp out lands. That might be something that might be fun to try. So, Cleansing Wildfire. So, I actually should have played Wooded Foothills and cracked it first. That way I would minimize my chance of drawing another land. Okay. Well, next turn we can cast... we could cast some rituals into Reforge the Soul. As long as we don't get Thought Seized. But if this is Rakdos mid-range, we're going to have a problem. Opponent makes us discard, so we're going to discard Inner Fire. Because at this point, Inner Fire doesn't do anything. I'll crack Wooded Foothills right now for a Stomping Ground. Then we untap. We draw another Mountain. So play Wooded Foothills, crack Wooded Foothills, get a Mountain, Pyretic Ritual, and then Reforge the Soul. Hope we get something good. Unfortunately, we can't Pyretic Ritual into Inner Fire. We're 1 mana away from that. So I think we just Cleansing Wildfire here. Okay, that's our last Mountain. Draw another redundant Reforge the Soul. Okay. Well, we're kind of set up okay. If our opponent upticks, we discard Cleansing Wildfire. Thoughtseize, I think they have to take Hazaret's Undying Fury. I don't think there's another option there. Yep, that's the one they take. So it is at this point of the game that I would like to draw a Locket. Opponent Thoughtseizes again. So they're going to take a Reforge the Soul, I think. They could take Pirate's Pillage. They take Cleansing Wildfire. They take Cleansing Wildfire because they're worried we have more mountains in our deck. Alright, they uptick, which means we're getting rid of Inner Fire here because, yeah, it doesn't do anything next turn. Just 4 mana, get 4 mana. Alright, we untap. We draw a Grape Shot. So we can Pyretic Ritual, Grape Shot. We can actually, we probably should just Pyretic Ritual Reforge the Soul at this point. So we have 8 mana. We can Pirate's Pillage to go down to 6, but then, yeah, let's just Reforge. We need other more powerful stuff. Opponent bolts our face, sure. We need more mana and a Past in Flames. Okay. Well, I think we found more mana. So play Cascading Cataracts. Play Locket. Do we have any Desperate Rituals in the grave yet? Nope. Okay. So Manamorphose only costing 1 here is sweet. Red, red. Manamorphose. Red, red. Pyretic. Desperate. Hazaret's Undying Fury, which only costs 5 because we've discarded 1. We hit another Locket and a Desperate Ritual. Okay, Valakut Awakening. We only get to draw 2 here. Valakut Awakening for 1. Only get to draw 2. Pirate's Pillage, which only costs 2. Sweet. So this one's free as opposed to Valakut Awakening and draws the same number of cards. And then we can Desperate Ritual, but that doesn't do anything. Sad days. That's a pretty sweet Storm turn, though. We just didn't end up with anything at the end. Maybe I need more copies of Past in Flames. That is a possibility. The problem is, like, we don't have enough draw 7s to take advantage of all of our mana. Locket makes us too reliant on the grave, and Past in Flames, like, cements the fact we're relying on the grave. And Modern, like, in Modern, we just fold to Grave Hate, and Grave Hate is super common. Which is one reason I was playing Channel the Suns originally, because it was like, oh, if I can just cast enough rituals out of hand, then it doesn't matter. Whereas, like, if we had Electromancer in the deck, as an example... Oh my gosh, can I cast this? I can. Sweet. Double Locket power. Oh my god, Quadra Locket power. Locket, Locket, Ritual, empty. Problem is my opponent is ulting Lily next turn. Yeah, Locket seems broken. We just cast a 2-mana Hazaret's Undying Fury because we had multiple Lockets. Yeah, maybe I should be playing more Past in Flames. Like, there is something here, and there's always been something to Mono Red Storm. The issue is, like, I'll have fun sorting that pile of permanents. I'll sacrifice 5 goblins, sure. I'll keep all my other permanents. Opponent attacks with Kroxa, we lose 3 life. I am going to chump, because my opponent could just have 2 bolts. Like, we did draw them 7 cards. If I could Miracle Reforge the Soul off the top, that'd be awesome. We only have 13 cards left in deck. If I draw Past in Flames, my opponent dies. Okay, Finale of Promise. We won't get to keep this in hand, so we're mulliganing. Opponent Fatal pushes a token. Do I even have any Reforges left? Hang on. We used 1, 2, 3. There's 1 Reforge the Soul left. We have 1, 2, 3 Undying Furies. Okay, there's like 3 cards in our deck we could draw that would actually just win us the game. Why would you Inquisition when you have a Kroxa? I guess to make sure we take damage off of it. Like, alright, we take damage. Chump Kroxa. We're really only getting 1 draw anyway, so we'll go ahead and just block. We have no Valakut Awakenings left to draw. And Pirate's Pillage we can't cast because we don't have another card to discard. Okay. Yep. We need a way to play out more of our deck before we play Hazoret's Undying Fury. So maybe there's like another flip land we could be playing, just to have more instants and sorceries we can cast. Maybe I should be maxing out on the actual storm cards and just like dropping Inner Fire. We'll see. As far as stuff to play against our opponent's deck, we really don't have any, and they play lots of nasty stuff. Okay. Well, we're testing. We're playing something new. Alright, I guess this hand's okay. Problem is my opponent has like a million Thoughtseizes, Nile Spell. They attack us on every axis that we can't fight up. Like, we can't fight on, which sucks a lot. But you know, whatever. We're having fun. This deck, like, almost exists. It either needs one more Pyretic Ritual effect, which I don't understand why they can't just print a sorcery Pyretic Ritual. We could play... what is it called? If we maxed out on Empty the Warrens, we could play Battle Hymn. That would actually give us enough mana to win the game every time. If we played the 0 mana artifact creatures, we could play Infernal Plunge, but then we're not taking advantage of our cost reduction. Alright. Pass the turn. Maybe we should be playing Battle Hymn. I think maxing out on Empty the Warrens and Battle Hymn is actually a way to go. That's probably better than Inner Fire. Alright. I'm going to Pyretic Ritual now, because there's no reason not to. There's always the chance that we can just, like, combo off. Okay, opponent cracks Verdant Catacombs for a swamp. We Pyretic Ritual. They're going to Cling to Dust Manamorphose. Sure. Pyretic Ritual. Reforge the Soul. Okay. Move to our main phase. We lose our mana. Play a Snow-Covered Mountain. Play a Locket. Pass the turn. Okay, we get Thoughtseized, so there goes Hazoret's Undying Fury, or Cleansing Wildfire. Probably Fury, because then they can Inquisition. They play a Blackleaf Cliffs. Into a Scourge of the Skyclaves. Interesting. We draw another Locket. So start Cleansing Wildfire. Get a Mountain. We draw Cleansing Wildfire. So play a Mountain. Okay. I'm going to Desperate Ritual first. Cleansing Wildfire. Get another Mountain. Alright, just play Locket. And pass the turn. They have Grave Hate here, we're very sad. Opponent Thoughtseizes a hand that they can't take anything from. Bolts our face. Bolts our face. Goes to combat, attacks us for 7. So we have 1 draw. And it's Wooded Foothills. Alright, well, we're learning. We are still learning. I'm trying to think of other cards we can abuse to either get a bunch of mana or draw a bunch of cards. There's like some notion we could do some like basic land rituals. Like there's ways we can abuse Cavern Vigil to get a bunch of untapped basic lands. Adding green and having access to more green mana in the main deck does mean we could cast answers like Nature's Claim quicker. And this is all just trying to build a different kind of Storm deck. I should stress, like, there's no reason to play this over Izzet Storm other than to play a different kind of Storm. Izzet Storm having cheap cost reducers, like, is just better. But I don't want to play Izzet Storm. I want to play this Storm deck. I want to play some janky green-red, nobody's ever heard of this Storm. And maybe Channel the Suns is the way to go over Inner Fire. Like, I was playing Inner Fire, Every time we've played Interfire, it's either gotten us 1 mana or no mana, because we've never hit it off of Hazaret's Undying Fury, because we can't even get to Hazaret's Undying Fury most of the time. Sure, we'll keep this. We can ramp into Reforge the Soul, potentially. I mean, if I play green, and I stop doing the Cleansing Wildfire thing, we could play Early Harvest as a ritual. The untap all your basic land spell, because it is only 3 mana, but it is double green. Okay, opponent starts Steam Vent, Shock, Haggle. So we're against Dredge. Opponent discards Loam, dredges Loam, finds nothing. We untap, draw Interfire, play a Mountain, pass the turn. Opponent Forgotten Cave tapped. They don't have green mana for their Life from the Loams. They can't cast it yet. So hit Cataracts, get a Mountain, get another Undying Fury. Okay, well, Interfire might actually be really good next turn. Opponent haggles again, pitching Loam, dredging Loam. They do find a Stinkweed Imp this time, so they can start actually dredging next turn. Okay, we go up to 8 cards in hand. We draw another Cascading Cataracts. Okay, so I can Interfire and go from 4 to 6. Then I can Interfire and go from 6 to 7. Then we'll play Hazaret's Undying Fury. We need to hit rituals. We have a lot of rituals in the deck, so in theory we should. Alright, so cast Pyretic Ritual, cast Pirate's Pillage, discarding Cascading Cataracts, and cast Grape Shot on our opponent. So we start off by doing 6 damage to our opponent. Okay, we're going to get a bunch of mana here, which is good. At least 5 more mana, which means we could cast another Hazaret's Undying Fury. That's probably better than casting Reforge the Soul, because we're only going to have 6 mana. I guess it depends on what we draw here. Hopefully more rituals. Can we get a Locket? So if we play Locket, it's just free Storm, because it makes Hazaret's Undying Fury cost 1 less. So just add mana. Cast Undying Fury again. Alright, Pirate's Pillage is going to draw us cards and get us mana. This is the main reason to run Pirate's Pillage. It's part of like the combo off phase. So Cleansing Wildfire, get a Mountain. We draw another Reforge the Soul. So Pirate's Pillage, we draw Hazaret's Undying Fury and Locket of Yesterday's. So this currently costs 4. If I had 1 more mana, I could play out Locket, and then we could cast another Hazaret's Undying Fury. But unfortunately, we have fizzled. So just play out the other Locket, pass the turn. And if we draw an untapped land next turn, which is fairly likely, we can cast another Hazaret's Undying Fury and try again. So opponent dredged Stinkweed Imp, but it doesn't appear that they have any lands to play. So they might just Conflagrate us, pitching their hand. Or they're going to play Cathartic Reunion. Conflagrate is the less scary of the 2 options. If we draw any ritual in our deck... Actually, that's not true. If we draw Pyretic Ritual or we draw Interfire, we're good to go. Yep, opponent Conflagrates us, pitching their entire hand. We untap. We draw Cataracts. I should have specified I need a Mountain to actually do the Undying Fury thing. Alright, well, play Cataracts, because there's really no reason not to. If we top deck another land, it's 1 more mana next turn. I guess technically it does make Interfires better, but... Alright, opponent dredges. They put Narcomoeba in the grave, which means they're going to get back their prized amalgams. They do Creeping Chill us once, but I think they're dead next turn, because all of our spells cost so much less now, like our gigantic red sorceries. The only other red rituals that exist are way too cost prohibitive and don't work with Hazaret's Undying Fury. So there's like Apex of Power, which is 10 mana, and there's Brass's Bounty, which is 7. And that's the other issue with casting Undying Fury. Maybe we could go for like a collected Conjuring deck and actually run blue and just ignore the blue cost reducers. Collected Conjuring plus Electro Dominance would actually give us enough ways to cast Wheel of Fate that we could probably get away with Wheel of Fate then. That might be a way to take this deck. So my opponent gets a whole bunch of Amalgams back. That's fine. We untap. We draw Inner Fire. Okay. Cast Inner Fire for 1 mana. Get 4. That's pretty good. That's like a... What is that card? Culling? Dark Culling or something like that? It's Dark Ritual, but it gives you 1 more mana and requires you sack. Oh my gosh, yeah. We hit everything. Technically stacking these in the wrong order, but we won. There's no way we don't win from here. Unless I'm really, really stupid and just, like, completely throw this. Which I shouldn't. We just gotta find Past in Flames. Oof. So yeah, cast and splice. Cast. Play Stomping Grounds untapped. Empty the Warrens. Make 1,000,000 goblins. Now see, if we had Battle Hymn instead of Inner Fire, we wouldn't be able to have gotten to this point, but like once we're already comboing, there's like no way we'd ever run out of mana ever. Oh, you know what? If I cast Reforge of the Soul, I die. Because there's no way my opponent doesn't dredge into... into, like, all their Creeping Chills. Unless they drew them off of Ox, but I think they just dredged. Alright, well, whatever. YOLO. They did not dredge. I just let that happen. Oh, no, never mind. They're getting the option to dredge now. My opponent just disconnected. Maybe they're lagging so much that they had to reconnect. We'll see. I'll come back in a minute, unless they just rage quit.